Hi, I'm Dongxiang. Welcome to Digging into China, where we explore China in depth to reveal unique perspectives. Over the past few years, China's economy has faced significant challenges, a reality I believe even the most ardent supporters of the party would acknowledge. However, opinions differ on whether this downturn is temporary or long-lasting and what its root causes are. Some view it as a passing phase, while others argue it reflects a global economic collapse, with China faring better than most. Many hold on to the hope that by simply waiting, the economy will rebound. So, does China's economy still have a chance to recover? And if it does, what signs would indicate a genuine turnaround? In this episode, we'll explore these questions. First, let's be clear. Expecting an economic recovery by merely waiting is unrealistic. Many people are indeed waiting as they confront China's economic decline. There is a popular saying in China, the triumph of the waiting party. Right now, many are adopting this mindset, hoping for an economic upturn. Some anticipate rising housing prices to sell their properties, while many young people are pursuing advanced degrees, essentially delaying their entry into a tough job market in hopes of better opportunities later. Unfortunately, without significant policy changes or bold reforms, this waiting party has no future. The problems we see today show no natural tendency to improve. They are likely to worsen over time. To understand this, let's examine the foundation of China's economy over the past 40 years. Two pillars have driven this growth: real estate and the workhorse economy. However, both face bleak prospects, and waiting won't resolve their issues. It will only make them worse. Consider real estate first. In 2021, China's property market entered a sharp decline, shattering the long-held belief that housing prices would only rise. This downturn has been swift. Since 2021, average home prices have fallen by over 40%, making this one of the steepest drops in global real estate markets this century, surpassed only by the 2007 crisis in Spain and Ireland. The collapse of China's real estate bubbles in 2021 was not unexpected. Data had long predicted this outcome. The key factor: the pool of people needing to buy homes is shrinking. Who are these buyers? Primarily young people and those moving to cities, the main drivers of China's housing market. But since 2020, both groups have dwindled significantly. For example, the primary home buying demographic, people aged 20 to 35, has been declining sharply since 2020. By 2025, this group is half the size it was a decade ago. Meanwhile, urbanization has slowed from 2010 to 2020. China's urbanization rate grew by about 1.5% annually, with nearly 20 million people moving to cities each year. Since 2020, that growth has dropped to just 0.5% per year, with fewer people moving to cities and fewer young people who's left to buy a home. How can prices not fall? Will this improve in the next decade? The answer is no. Take population trends. While policy changes may lead to a slight uptick in the 20 to 35 age group over the next 10 years, the overall trend won't improve significantly and won't return to 2010 levels. Urbanization will also slow dramatically. From 2010 to 2020, China's urban population grew by 236 million. Even at the Communist Party's most optimistic projections, from 2025 to 2035, urban population growth will reach only 50 million. The demand in the next decade is nowhere near the scale of the previous one. So, what will drive housing prices up? How can real estate recover? The industry is effectively on life support. The only question is how far prices will fall before hitting bottom. The other pillar, the workhorse economy, is also entering a crisis, and it's only the beginning. For decades, China's economy relied on cheap labor to produce goods, a model familiar to many. But since 2020, the working age population, those aged 15 to 64, has been shrinking, dropping from a peak of 1 billion to 970 million today. At the same time, the aging population is growing. What does this mean? Policies like delayed retirement and mandatory social security contributions, which have sparked complaints, are just the start. From 2015 to 2025, China has been in the early stage of population aging, with a modest increase in the elderly population. But the next phase is coming, where the labor force will shrink rapidly while the elderly population surges. By 2035, China's labor force is projected to decline by 110 million, while the elderly population will grow by 140 million. A shrinking labor force and rising caregiving responsibilities are only the beginning. Delayed retirement and mandatory social security are merely the opening acts of population aging. The real challenges will arrive around 2030. A declining labor force will not only increase caregiving costs, but also slow economic growth and stifle innovation. A nation's GDP depends on its working age population. A 10% drop in that population likely means a 10% drop in GDP. This significant labor shortage will sharply curb China's economic growth. Moreover, an aging population reduces innovation. Many elderly in China don't use smartphones or engage with new technology. Since products are driven by market demand, a society with little demand for innovation stifles a country's ability to create. Due to time constraints, I focused on real estate and population issues, but related problems, banking, local government finance, and debt stem from the same causes. None of these crises will resolve themselves naturally over time. If anything, they are likely to worsen. If China continues its current hands-off approach, letting the economy spiral, waiting won't lead to a brighter future. Is China's economy beyond saving? Not entirely. While it shares similarities with Japan's past, like a real estate bubble and a population crisis, I believe China's situation is closer to South Korea and Taiwan in the 1990s. China is still a developing nation with a per capita GDP just over $10,000, unlike Japan, which had a per capita GDP 1.5 times that of the United States during its crisis, leaving little room for growth. China had the space to address its issues through development. In fact, China's potential exceeds that of South Korea or Taiwan thanks to two advantages: its vast population and unified market. Some view these as drawbacks, but that's a misconception. A large population and unified markets are positive factors for economic growth. Look at the US. Why is it the world's leading economy? Why do tech giants emerge there? It's not solely because of a superior democratic system compared to, say, Canada. Politically, the US isn't far ahead of Canada, but economically, it's unmatched. Why? It's a large population. A large population creates a vast market and abundant capital, key ingredients for fostering tech companies. This is evident in AI development. Geoffrey Hinton, a pioneer in AI, taught at the University of Toronto, laying theoretical groundwork. Yet, something like ChatGPT was unlikely to emerge in Canada. Why? Canada can handle AI theory and technology, but its 40 million people don't provide the market or capital needed for a project of that scale. China, by contrast, has a clear advantage in scale over South Korea and Taiwan. So, what does China need to realize this potential? Waiting won't suffice. What's required? To achieve further growth, China needs a bold transformation. Its economy faces significant challenges but also holds great potential. Success depends on economic transition, finding new growth drivers after the collapse of real estate and the workhorse economy. Recovery won't come from waiting for problems to fade. time won't fix everything. China needs a highly innovative and forceful policy to shift its economic trajectory and reverse its decline. What would such a policy look like? It's not what Xi Jinping is currently pursuing. Xi's solution is industrial upgrading. In theory, this makes sense. To join developed nations, a country must either produce high-end products and innovate or rely on resources. Since China isn't resource-rich, industrial upgrading is the clear path. Xi's direction isn't wrong. But why do I say it's flawed? The issue lies in execution, how he's pursuing innovation. Xi's approach relies on government intervention to create tech industries, directing resources through policies. For instance, after China's 2020 push for manufacturing upgrades, massive capital flowed into the sector, with loans to industrial enterprises surging. Over 70% of these loans went to industries Xi prioritized. What's the outcome? Some tech companies like Cattle and BYD have emerged with innovative capabilities, but because this innovation is artificially driven and defies market logic, it leads to overproduction and domestic deflation. With limited consumer purchasing power, these products are dumped overseas at low prices, prioritizing volume over value. The results? High-tech companies exist, but they are built at a great cost, sold cheaply, and violate market principles. As these products succeed, people's lives worsen, and the economy deteriorates further. I'll make a bold claim. Even if SMIC masters 3-nanometer chips tomorrow, it won't improve Chinese lives under this model. Recent economic trends confirm its failure. So what's the true path to recovery, and what signals would show it's happening? The answer lies in a market-driven model. Unlike Xi's trial-and-error approach, there is a clear path for a developing nation like China, the one South Korea and Taiwan followed. How did they achieve industrial upgrading? By fostering a strong business environment and letting market demand naturally drive innovation. Can China do this now? No. It's lacking in two areas: insufficient demand and limited market freedom. While China's per capita GDP aligns with middle-income nations, its consumption resembles that of a low-income country. China's per capita GDP matches Turkey, Mexico, or Malaysia, but consumption accounts for just over 40% of GDP, about a third less than these countries, sometimes half. This leaves Chinese consumers with purchasing power akin to Thailand's. This low consumption slows the natural emergence of tech industries. The issue isn't a cultural tendency to save, it's that people lack money. Disposable income is also around 40% of GDP, mirroring consumption levels. The government's excessive spending has consumed too much of society's wealth, hindering innovation. The first signal of recovery would be a complete reversal of industrial policies, shifting from heavy subsidies to abandoning them entirely. The funds used for subsidies should be returned to the people to boost consumption. Additionally, the bureaucracy needs a major overhaul, cutting staff and slashing spending by at least 50% from current levels. By redirecting resources to the public, the market can decide where innovation occurs, what kind is needed, and how much should be produced. This is the right path for industrial upgrading. When platforms like Xiaohongshu, Red Little Notes, and Bilibili shift from comparing electric cars to comparing incomes and welfare, that's the first sign of economic progress. The second signal would be the Communist Party easing restrictions on the rule of law and freedom. Innovative tech companies require a relaxed business environment and less stringent speech controls. Why does China's AI lag? Because it faces layers of censorship. This is clear even within China. Shanghai, often criticized as westernized, has the best business environment. Compared to bureaucratic northeastern cities, where would you invest or start a business? Actions show a consensus, even if words don't. In my view, only these two signals indicate a real chance for economic recovery. Until then, grand displays like a military parade, global missiles, Huawei's leading phones, or BYD's global reach are illusions, false prosperity under Xi's model. Ultimately, reducing government spending, easing speech controls, and fostering a fairer business environment point to the need for democracy. This is China's dilemma. In its developing phase, the party and the people coexist despite the disputes over wealth distribution. But now, as China aims to become a developed nation driven by consumption and innovation, the party and the people are at odds. For the Chinese people, further progress requires political de-authoritarianization. The party and China's development are now in conflict, though many haven't realized this. The party won't relinquish control willingly, so it seeks development path without the reform. Xi's model is an attempt at this. Instead of the clear path, the party chooses a risky trial and error approach to protect its interests, with the cost borne by all Chinese people. Looking ahead, I see three possible futures for China's economy. First, Xi Jinping becomes a genius, devising a model that boosts consumption while preserving the party's control. Second, the Chinese people rise up, overthrow the party, and establish a democratic system to raise incomes and improve the business and the speech environment. Third, Xi's model fails and the people lack the power to overthrow the party. The first two could save China's economy. The third leads to long-term decline, relegating China to a second-tier nation, watching as the next century belongs to India or America. Many may see the third scenario as China's future, as the first two seem daunting. Expecting Xi to become a genius is unlikely, and overthrowing the party is challenging. But after events like the White Paper Revolution and the Jiang You incident in Sichuan province, I've seen growing resistance. I believe the second possibility will happen. Chinese people will overthrow the party, creating a brighter future. But first, more must recognize the true nature of the party's relationship with the people and understand who is truly hindering our progress. China's rise and our chance for a better life. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please like it, drop a comment below, and hit the subscribe button right here. It really helps YouTube suggest my video to others. I'll be back with more content soon. Until then, be well.